Hi, it's Sherry. Welcome back to my channel. I know many of you think it is way too early to start decorating for autumn and Halloween. However, most of today's projects involve supplies purchased from the Dollar Tree. And we all know that when the Dollar Tree seasonal decor is gone, it's gone. And I wanted to make sure that you could find the supplies that you need. In fact, I'll include a list of all the Dollar Tree supplies that I used in today's video in the description box. You may find some of today's projects a little too creepy for your personal taste. So I made sure to include plenty of cute ones. So you'll have to let me know what you think. I have a lot of ideas I want to show you today. So let's get started. For my first project, you'll need a few of those small wood pumpkin signs from Dollar Tree. You can either sand off the glitter or flip them over and just use the back side. Cut one in half to create two small pumpkins. Then print out some autumn or Halloween images that you like. I'll link my images in the description box below. Apply a light, even coat of Mod Podge both to the block and to the back of your image, and then carefully apply the image to the block, smoothing out any wrinkles. Sometimes I use this little decoupage roller to get out all the wrinkles. Let the Mod Podge dry for about an hour and then trim up the edges with an X-Acto knife or a pair of scissors. Carefully sand the edges with 220 grit sandpaper at a 45-degree angle. Apply a light, even coat of Mod Podge over your image. For the bottom half of the block you cut in half, you'll need to drill a hole and add a stick for a stem. Glue the smaller pumpkin to the larger pumpkin, making sure that the bottom edges are perfectly aligned. Add additional raffia or any other embellishments that you like. I added some pip berries from an old candle ring that I had. I also like to rip up the raffia for a more natural look. I love the idea of putting a classic poem or short story on the large pumpkin and a related image on the small pumpkin. I'm sure I'll be able to sell several sets of the Edgar Allan Poe pumpkins. I also want to make myself one with my mom's pumpkin pie recipe to put on my tiered trays in my kitchen. For the next project, I used some old tin cans, but you could use whatever container that you like. I painted these cans with a couple coats of black chalk paint and then distressed them a bit with some sandpaper. Sometimes instead of painting the cans, I'll rust them instead. Taking a set of the Dollar Tree skeleton salad tongs, I cut the fat end off of the arm bone just so it will stick in styrofoam better. Then to give the bones a more aged appearance, I apply some black chalk paint and then rub it off. And then I apply some antiquing wax and rub it off. I just kind of play around until I get a look that I like. While the paint on the salad tongs is drying, I print out some cemetery images, which I'll link below. I apply Mod Podge to the back of the images and then adhere them to my tin cans. I fill the tin cans with packing styrofoam from a recent Amazon purchase and then cover the styrofoam with some sheet moss. I make a hole in the center of the styrofoam so the salad tong inserts easier. Then I like to add a little fake stem to wrap around the fingers of the skeleton hand. This is a really cheap project for those of you that like creepy Halloween decor. I do prefer the rusted cans, but it takes a good week to create a good level of rust on a tin can. For those of you that prefer cute to creepy, here's a project to make use of some old storage tins. Find 3 round storage tins in various sizes and then paint each one a different color of chalk paint. When the paint's dry, apply a coat of wax. I used white wax to soften the colors of the paint a bit. Then glue your cans together. I used Star-Bond super glue. If you want to use hot glue, be sure to glue them together before you apply wax to the cans. Then I used super glue to attach a piece of stick to the top tin. I tore some leaves and vines off of some old florals to add to the top of the tin stack for embellishment. I also added some raffia and a couple plastic pumpkins that I painted with chalk paint. All of the lids still come off, so you could store things inside. And the smallest tin on the top is actually a Dollar Tree candle. Put some homemade cookies inside, and this would make a great gift. I saw some really fun Halloween fabric the last time I was at Dollar Tree. So I picked up 3 different patterns and some styrofoam pumpkins. Dig out a large hole in the top center of your pumpkin and then just wrap your fabric around the pumpkin, tucking the ends in the hole. Add a little hot glue and a stick for your stem. Then comes the fun part. Add your embellishments. For the candy corn pumpkin, I printed out an image of a bag of Brock's candy corn and cut leaf shapes from it to attach to the pumpkin. And for the Day of the Dead fabric, I cut up some small skeletons from Dollar Tree and stuck the bones in the center of the pumpkin. I did the same thing with the monster fabric. I think these are a fun little addition to your Halloween decor without being overly creepy. I think little witch legs sticking out of a pumpkin would be a cute idea too. And the candy corn pumpkin would look cute in a kitchen. The next project makes use of an old doily and a picture frame missing its glass. I painted my picture frame with a couple coats of chalk paint, and then I printed out a funny quote on my Cricut machine, which I then applied to my frame. I distressed the frame with a bit of sandpaper and then applied a coat of clear wax. This doily was badly stained, so I didn't mind cutting it up to fit inside my frame. I used hot glue on the back of my frame to hold the doily in place. I used a second row of hot glue just to make sure that the doily didn't come loose. I trimmed off the excess doily and then cleaned up the back with a little bit of paper tape. I bought a bag of assorted bugs at Dollar Tree, and I just took the spider and stuck it on the doily. If you have a nice doily that you don't want to cut, use an embroidery hoop as your frame instead. There were no more black spiders in my bag, so I spray painted this green one. Of course, the next day I found these sparkly spiders at Dollar Tree that I liked even better. I ran a little twine through the top for hanging purposes. I personally think that these doily spider webs fall into the cute category of Halloween decor. For the next project, you'll need 2 of those glass jar candles from Dollar Tree. I found 2 with dark purple wax. Go around the top of the jar with your hot glue gun, applying hot glue to the top edge of the jar so that it runs down the side, creating drips. Let the hot glue dry and then go around a second time. You may even want to go around a third time if you want extra drippy looking candles. Once the hot glue is dry, pick off all of the little hot glue strings. Then stuff the top of your candles with a bit of paper or saran wrap. Give them a couple coats of flat black spray paint. I decided to attach some of the plastic bugs I had with super glue, and then I spray painted them again. I sat them on some old brass candlesticks to give them some height, and then I realized I should have super glued some of the skeleton salad tongs to the side of these. The spray is an accelerator that causes the super glue to dry instantly. I cut the skeleton tongs at the joint, which created the perfect height for the glass jar candles. I would recommend gluing everything on before spray painting for the best adhesion. I've shown you how to customize coasters in a past video, so I'll go through this quickly, but I wanted to share this fun Halloween option. Whether you're using ceramic or cardboard coasters, you'll want to rough up the surface with sandpaper. I used my orbital sander. Print out the anatomical images that I have linked below in a size to fit your coasters. I like to use the Print to Size app. Apply a thin coat of Mod Podge to the back of the coaster and to the back of your image. This will allow you to adjust it in place a bit before it permanently sticks. Print your image slightly larger than your coaster and then cut off the excess with an X-Acto knife or a pair of scissors. Smooth the edges with 220 grit sandpaper. Seal them with another coat of Mod Podge or with several light coats of a spray-on top coat. To store the coasters, I painted and distressed a Dollar Tree crate. Then I printed out a vintage ad for coffins from the Graphics Fairy website. I glued it to a piece of cardboard, cut it out, and hot glued it to the crate. Although it wasn't necessary, I applied a coat of clear wax to the crate, and I even went over the label. Although some of you probably think these are super creepy, I think they're super fun and a nice way to add just a touch of Halloween to your home decor. In fact, I think you could leave them out year-round if you wanted to. For the next project, you'll need 2 sets of skeleton garland from Dollar Tree. It's easier if you just go ahead and remove the twine at the start. You'll also need 8 Dollar Tree butterflies and 8 silk flowers. Remove the stem and any center pieces that are holding your first flower together. Cut a slit through the flower, stopping when you get to the center. Wrap the flower around the skeleton's waist like a skirt. You may need to remove some layers if it's too thick. Overlap the 2 ends in the back and hot glue in place. You may need to glue more than 1 layer together. Cut the antenna off your butterfly and hot glue the body to the spine, making sure the pretty side of the butterfly faces forward. If you want, use any remaining flower parts to create embellishments and a hat for your skeleton. I thought I'd show you a second example on Fast Forward. Daisies work really well for this project, but I did use other types of flowers too. And if you're going to use the Crafter's square butterflies, I recommend using only the transparent top piece. I used florist wire to reattach the skeletons to a long piece of jute twine. And then using a small piece of twine, I tied a bow around the wire to disguise it. How cute are these little skeleton ladies? This project was literally so much fun. It took me back to my childhood days of dressing up Barbie dolls. It was also a great way to make use of a bunch of random flowers that I had in my stash that I might otherwise never have used. You could dress this garland up even more by adding further embellishments in between each skeleton lady. I might actually go back and add some colorful beads and some plastic bones as a finishing touch. What else would be fun to add? In a previous video, I cut the side pieces off of a wooden toolbox, and I thought I could turn them into little ghosts. The hole where the handle had been would serve as the mouth, so all I needed to do was drill 2 small holes for eyes. I also cut down one piece to make it slightly shorter than the other, and then I painted both pieces with 3 coats of the new chalk paint that Walmart carries. Then I distressed it just a bit with 220 grit sandpaper and hot glued the 2 ghosts together. I thought they looked a little plain and was going to create something on my Cricut machine, but in the end I decided to super glue one of those metal Dollar Tree words on instead. The next project is certainly not a new idea, but I wanted to share some really cool apothecary labels with you. And as Halloween is approaching, I wanted to remind you to be saving your empty jars and bottles. All of the labels are linked in the description box. Some are from the Graphics Fairy and one I created on Canva. Print the labels to fit your bottles and adhere them with Mod Podge. To add to the vintage appeal, use corks instead of the bottle lids. I ordered a variety pack of corks from Amazon, but you can cut down wine corks to make them fit your bottles. To make jar lids look vintage, first paint them black. When that paint is dry, take 2 or 3 shades of brown acrylic paint and dab it on. While that paint is still wet, sprinkle the lid with some cinnamon, and then go over with your dabber again to kind of blend the cinnamon with the paint. To go along with my owl eyeball label, you can add a package of Dollar Tree eyeballs to your jar. Then add a couple drops of food coloring to a cup of water and then pour that over your eyeballs. I also like to swish around a little colored water in my empty bottles to make it look like they once held medicine. I created this apothecary sign by taking the back off of a picture frame, hot gluing the glass in place, and creating the vinyl decal on my Cricut. If I can figure out how to share Cricut images, I'll include that in the description box with the links for the apothecary labels. There are so many fun, free Halloween images out there that I thought I would decoupage some to those paper mache boxes you can get at the Dollar Tree. I spray painted them black and then distressed them with sandpaper to make them look like the box from a vintage board game. I printed out these vintage board game images and decoupaged them to the lid of each box. I also thought it would be fun to decoupage a large box of matches, and I found this interesting image on Pinterest. You could put something inside and use them as gift boxes, or they can just be a fun addition to your Halloween decor. They're small, so they would fit on most tiered trays. Well, we're to the last project, and I think this might be my best idea yet. Cut the bottom off of a used water bottle using an X-Acto knife or a pair of scissors. Then cut off the top rounded part just above the label. Finally, cut off the mouthpiece. The plastic is thicker here, so it's a little tougher to cut through. Use some goof off or nail polish remover to rub off the expiration date. Then push the top piece into the bottom piece. They should fit snugly together. Now you have a transparent pumpkin that you can fill with whatever you like. I used ribbon and fabric and beads and flowers and, of course, candy. You can add a stick for a stem and leaves for embellishment, or use a straw for your stem if you're putting candy inside your pumpkin. It would take a little time, but I think this is a really fun way to give out Halloween treats. Every day in the United States, Americans throw away 60 million water bottles. But because I repurposed a few, today it was only 59,999,992. Well, I hope today's projects weren't too creepy for you. And I hope you can find all the supplies that you need at your Dollar Tree. You'll have to let me know if you'd like to see another video on Halloween decor, because I have a bunch of ideas left that I would love to share with you. Well, that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. Until next Tuesday, bye-bye for now.